about 7:15.
Yeah, it's about 7:15, so. Shall I,
Yes, you should.
You go right ahead.
like I did last
No,
time?
no,
Oh,
no,
you're-
no.
Look at this, look at what I did.
Be
probably.
kinder and gentler, please. Thank you.
All right, welcome everyone. We'll open the City Council meeting for Bristol, Tennessee here tonight, April 2nd. I'll call it to order, and Tara, would you start with the roll?
Denise?
Here.
Fryer Robin?
Here.
King?
Here.
Powers?
Here.
Young?
Here.
I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you for your interest in city government. We have folks here tonight that are participating in different ways, and we have folks who are very interested in participating more with some of our candidates here as well. So welcome y'all here. There's several opportunities to speak. We had a sign-up sheet out front, as we go forward tonight, I'll note when public comment is welcome. There's a section to address City Council on the agenda. We'll start with our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. And I failed to ask anybody ahead of time for the pledge, so Mr. Sora, how about if you lead us
Sure, I
this
can do that.
time in the pledge? Frequently at City Council, been trying to spread that responsibility out a little bit, so appreciate that. And tonight we're really pleased to have King University's chaplain, Brian Alderman, and appreciate your being here tonight and appreciate King College and what y'all bring to our community.
Thank
so
you.
if everybody will please stand.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we give thanks to you for the blessings of this day, for light and life and well-being and peace. We are mindful that we still have much work to do, and we're mindful of the much unfinished business that always remains. As we gather, we ask your blessing on our time together this evening. Give us strength of purpose and shared purpose, patience in our listening, wisdom in the decisions we make, and guide us by your light and your truth. We commend to your care our city, Bristol. Keep us from hatred and from strife, and remove whatever barriers that threaten to divide us and whatever obstacles that threaten to keep us from doing your will. Through Jesus Christ, you come to us and you teach us your ways of doing good, of seeking justice, of defending the orphan, rescuing the oppressed, and pleading for the widow. Renew in us a vision of what it is that you desire from us, that we might participate in your work in this world, in this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both very much. Mr. Sora, do we have any items that we need to add to our agenda tonight?
No, Mayor, the agenda is complete.
We thank you very much. Tonight we have 7 proclamations. That's probably about 4 more than our most we've had before at the time. So that's pretty exciting. And we'll start with the proclamation for Bristol Arbor Day, Earth Day. I'd like to ask Councilman Powers to read the proclamation, and Mr. Jeremy Stout, with Steel Creek Park Nature Center manager, is here to accept the proclamation. We appreciate his being here.
Great, thank you. Whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper products, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business area, and beautify our community. And whereas Arbor Day, Earth Day, is a unique celebration, focusing not on the past but the future. And by planting this small tree, we affirm our faith in the future And whereas the city wishes to thank the tree board members for their efforts in helping to improve the quality of life in our city. Now therefore, the mayor of the city of Bristol, Tennessee, Margaret Robin, does hereby proclaim April 26th of 2019 as Bristol Arbor Day, Earth Day in the city of Bristol, Tennessee, and urges all citizens to plant trees and commend them for their efforts in reforesting the city. This second day of April 2019.
Thank you. Also, is there anyone here from the tree board in addition to Jeremy Stout? All right. Did you want to, you don't lose a chance to say a word or two.
I've always got notes prepared.
Good.
No, but they're very brief. I did want to thank you on behalf of the Department of Parks and Rec, and I also wanted to make sure that our council and Mr. Soren knew that you were invited to our Arbor Day celebration at 10 a.m. on Friday, April 26th at Avoca Elementary. You can come hang out with me and the fifth graders there and help us plant the tree. But again, thank you.
Thank you. Ben, that's always a great event. Next, we have a proclamation designating the month of April 2019 as Fair Housing Month. And I'd like Councilman Young to read the proclamation, and Mr. Dan Witcher, who's chair of the Community Development Advisory Committee, and Mr. Steve Willinger, CDAC board member, and I see Ella Kane back there. If they'll come forward. Did I cover everybody on the committee that's here? And Spence Flagg, I saw you earlier. Yes, please come forward, and we want y'all all in the picture. Councilman Jack Young will be in the photo with y'all. So,
all right. Whereas April 2019 marks the 51st anniversary of the enactment of the Fair Housing Act, and whereas legislation passed by Congress in 1968 seeks to eliminate discrimination in opportunities and to affirmatively make housing choices available for all Americans, and whereas the ongoing effort to ensure equal housing opportunities for all citizens is not the exclusive role of the federal government, but also requires state and local government efforts to combat housing discrimination as well. And whereas the City of Bristol, Tennessee utilizes the Department of Development Services to implement an effective and responsible fair housing program, and whereas it is the intent of this City Council to encourage the unified efforts of federal, state, and local governments in promoting housing opportunities for all Americans, therefore be it resolved that the Mayor of the City of Bristol, Tennessee does hereby proclaim April 2019 as Fair Housing Month, the second day of April 2019.
thank you. Y'all come on forward, and I've asked Christina Blevins, who's in the department, who chairs that department for the city, to come forward as well. It's a great photo op. Okay. If anyone would like to address us, that would be welcome.
Mayor and council, we'd like to thank you very much for this resolution. It is very important, fair and affordable housing to a community and to the families therein and the community, and thank you very much. And I'll turn it over to Steve Willinger, who has a few words.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council. Y'all looking good. Hi, I'm Steve Willinger. I'm a committee member of the Community Development Advisory Committee and a board member of the Bristol, Tennessee Association of Realtors. As realtors, our mission is to encourage its 300-plus licensed members to successfully attain their highest goals in the ethical and professional manner and advocate the rights of private property ownership. The Fair Housing Act enunciates a national policy of fair housing for all who live in the United States and prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, and national origin. Fair housing is a positive community good. Fair housing provides economic stability, community health, and human relations in all communities, which are improved by the diversity and integration. Fair housing is integral to the ethical commitment of members of the National Association of Realtors. Fair housing is a conditional licensing essential for all real estate professionals to honor and respectfully serve their clients, customers, and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a joint proclamation with Bristol, Virginia, to designate the week of April 7th through 13th as National Library Week in Bristol, Tennessee, and Virginia. I'd like Councilman Jack Young, who serves on the Library Board, to read this proclamation, and Ms. Amy Kamani, Executive Director of the Library, is with us tonight to accept that proclamation.
And before I jump into this, I'll share our mayor has been quite involved with both the library and the Library Foundation for a number of years, so I know she'll be joining us for the photo op here in a moment, too. So thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Whereas today's libraries are not just about books, but what they do for and with people, and whereas libraries of all types are at the heart of cities, towns, schools, and campuses, and whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions where people of all backgrounds can be together and connect, and whereas libraries and librarians build strong communities through transformative services, programs, and expertise, and whereas libraries which promote the free exchange of information and ideas for all are cornerstones of democracy, and whereas libraries promote civic engagement by keeping people informed and aware of community events and issues, and whereas librarians and library workers partner with other civic organizations to make sure their community's needs are being met, and whereas libraries and librarians empower their communities to make informed decisions by providing free access to information, and whereas libraries are a resource for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, orientation, identity, or socioeconomic status, by offering services, educational resources that will transform lives and strengthen communities. And whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week, now therefore be it resolved that the cities of Bristol, Tennessee, and Bristol, Virginia proclaim National Library Week April 7th to 13th, 2019, this second day of April 2019.
Thank you very much to the City Council for this. On behalf of the Bristol Public Library and the Avoca Branch Library, I want to thank you for everything that you do for us, and to let you know that we work hard at the library to help the citizens of both cities to reach their goals, be it educational or employment goals, and we couldn't do it without the help we get from both cities. So I want to thank you very much for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, activities during that week are, and with the foundation that's been refounded, the foundation is hosting, but the committee consists of library board and new Friends of the Library and library staff to celebrate the staff on next Tuesday with a lunch for staff appreciation, and then a community leader breakfast on the 11th that hopefully some of y'all will be able to attend with other community leaders. So really enjoy being able to recognize that week. Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation designating the week of April 14 through 20 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Bristol, Tennessee. I'd like Vice Mayor Denise to read the proclamation, and Ms. Crystal Key, 911 Manager, is here to accept that proclamation.
Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs that prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Bristol, Tennessee Police Fire Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety, and whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Bristol, Tennessee Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year, and therefore be it resolved that the Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee declares the week of April 14th through 20th, 2019 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our citizens and our city safe the second day of April 2019.
Mayor, Council, I just want to take a moment to thank you all for acknowledging the hard work of our public safety telecommunicators, the hard work that they do, and their commitment to the safety of our responders and our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're keeping our community development folks busy with a proclamation designating April 22nd through 26th as National Community Development Week in Bristol, Tennessee. I'd like Councilman Keene to read that proclamation, and Mr. Dan Witcher, if you'll come forward again to accept it, and your committee can come up with you again for another photo if that would be acceptable to them. Appreciate it.
Whereas the week of April 22nd through the 26th, 2019, has been designated as National Community Development Week to recognize and celebrate the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG program, and the Home Investment Partnerships, the HOME program, and whereas since 1976, the CDBG program has provided annual funding and flexibility to the city of Bristol, Tennessee, to provide affordable housing, suitable living environment, and economic opportunities. And whereas since 2003, the Regional Home Consortium Program has created and preserved affordable housing for low-income families. And whereas over the past 5 years, our community has received more than $892,000 in CDB funds and $4,442,000 in home funds. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Bristol, Tennessee designates the week of April 22nd through the 26th, 2019 as National Community Development Week. In support of these two valuable programs that have made tremendous contributions to the viability of housing stock, infrastructure, and public services, and economic vitality for our community. In testimony, whereas Mayor Margaret Feierabend has hereunto set her hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the great city of Bristol, Tennessee, on this second day of April in the year 2019.
While they're lining up to get their picture taken again, this is a really active group, and they are really good about learning what's going on in the community and helping support the work of housing and community development. We appreciate each and every one of them. There's a few that weren't able to be here tonight.
Bristol's had very good success over the years and a good collaboration between private and public sectors in community development. It's a very, very important aspect in being able to communicate to the public and allow them to come back and communicate the issues and concerns is very critical for our community. So we thank you very, very much, Council, for designating this resolution, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next proclamation is on Maternal Mental Health Month. And we have Miss Christina Dulaney, a registered nurse with Appalachian Perinatal Mental Health Alliance, is with us this evening to receive that proclamation. If you want to go ahead and head up there, I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas over 1,500 babies are born in the city of Bristol each year, and the maternal health, and more specifically, the mental health of women during and after pregnancy is an issue of great concern and their families, and is therefore of interest to the city of Bristol. And whereas between 10 and 20% of new and expectant mothers are affected by perinatal depression and related mood disorders such as anxiety and psychosis, and they may experience associated symptoms which are often overlooked and heavily stigmatized because new and expectant mothers suffering from perinatal mood disorder often feel confused, ashamed, and isolated. And whereas many at-risk women may not seek help because they're not informed about perinatal depression and related mood disorder as part of their health care, because there is lack of knowledge and use of screening and assessment tools, and because they are unaware of treatment and community supportive services for perinatal depression and related mood disorders. And whereas heightened awareness and increased education among all residents in the city of Bristol regarding the incidence of perinatal depression is critical. And perinatal depression is highly treatable with this therapeutic interventions such as medication, professional therapy, and counseling, support groups, and community support services through including crisis hotlines. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the month of May 2019 is declared throughout the city of Bristol, Tennessee as Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month. This adopted this second day of April 2019.
Thank you so much, Mayor and Council. I accept this on behalf of Cherished Mom, my organization, and the Appalachian Perinatal Mental Health Alliance, based here in the Tri-Cities. And I want to dedicate this to all moms who experience perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, as well as our future, who is here with me tonight. And we do so much work, and we have a lot of work to do, so I appreciate you so much.
We appreciate you. All right, and all these things, this is a lot of time to spend on proclamations, but it's great to bring attention to the different topics that we have. And the next one is the 2020 census, which we want a lot of attention given to as well. Councilman Powers is going to read that one.
Thank you.
And Peggy Hurley, Partnership Specialist with U.S. Department of Commerce, is here with us to receive that proclamation.
Thank you. Whereas the United States of America has performed a nationwide census every 10 years since 1790, with the last census being in 2010. And whereas an accurate census is essential for the allocation of representatives to serve in the legislative bodies of the U.S. House of Representatives, the Tennessee State Legislature, and within the city of Bristol, Tennessee. And whereas accurate census information is critical to planning for future growth, development, and the social needs of the city of Bristol, Tennessee. And whereas the more informed the residents become about the 2020 census operations, the better their understanding of the census process becomes, thus increasing their willingness to participate in the 2020 census. And whereas the Census Bureau is not permitted to publicly release responses finished by any individual or on behalf of an individual, or release information to other governmental agencies, including the Internal Revenue Service, the Immigration and Naturalization Service, law enforcement agencies, or welfare agencies. In addition, per the Federal Cybersecurity Enhancements Act of 2015, census data, and this is the most important point, is protected from cybersecurity risk through screening of the systems that transmit this data. And whereas a complete count committee will be selected to advise and assist the city of Bristol, Tennessee in obtaining the most accurate and complete population count for Census 2020 by increasing the number of city responses through a focused, structured, neighbor-to-neighbor program. Therefore, be it resolved that Margaret Feierabend, Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee, does hereby proclaim the week of April 1st through the 7th, 2019, designated as 2020 Census Kickoff Week.
And I believe Ms. Hurley's going to do a presentation here in a couple of minutes as well. We can go ahead and you can say something, then we'll have you back in a minute.
Mayor and Council, on behalf of the Census Bureau, I would like to thank you for recognizing the importance of census awareness, and also thank you for your future partnership.
Thank you. We have one item of recognition on tonight's agenda. The city has over 340 full and part-time employees that serve our community on a daily basis. We frequently hear about employees who go above and beyond their service. So at that end, we created the Bristol First program to recognize those efforts. And tonight, our latest recipient is going to be talked about by Ms. Terry Talbert, Director of Community Relations, to give a brief overview of the program and announce tonight's winner. And I'll also say for the photo, if the family would like to come forward with the winner, we welcome that.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Sora. Usually when we think of police and fire, we always think of them in an action role. We actually look for the cape, I think, a lot of times. They pull upon a car accident or a house on fire, sometimes it's difficult to think of them in any other role. But there are times when our officers and firemen go about their work and it goes unnoticed, doing what they do to ensure the safety and welfare of our community. The officer being recognized tonight did just that. And he was noticed, and his efforts and dedication was also noticed. For a couple of years, this officer has worked to make a particular neighborhood a better, safer place to live. In the nomination form, the nominator stated that Captain Charlie Thomas was always willing to listen to complaints patiently, to work diligently on any problems brought to him, and to work on it until they were resolved. And during that period, there were many varied issues, from criminal activity to animal control issues. The nominator went on to say he helped those in the neighborhood to feel safer and happier in their homes, and for that they will always be eternally grateful, and that he is a true, dedicated officer and a perfect candidate for this award. Captain Thomas, if you and your family would step forward. Mayor. Let me keep the award. Oh, I forgot the award. Thank you.
I'll keep it very short. The only thing I would say is I am very proud to be part of that team of 340 some odd employees, and this was a team effort, not just Charlie Thomas. So got a lot of good people that work with me.
We appreciate you. And I'd like to just say thanks to our community development, Community Relations Department for creating this recognition. It has meant a lot to a lot of our employees, and it means a lot to us to be able to take time for recognition. Next is a presentation with our 2020 census, and if Ms. Hurley would come forward again, we would appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Peggy Hurley. I'm a partnership specialist with the Census Bureau, and I am covering your local area. And I'm here today to talk to you about the importance of census awareness and why we do the census. Just to give you a little information, the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, mandates a head count every 10 years of everyone residing in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, and the island areas of the United States. This includes people of all ages, races and ethnic groups, citizens and non-citizens. Our goal is to count everyone, count them once, and count them in the right place. The first census was conducted in 1790, and one has been conducted every 10 years since then. The information and the population totals from the census determine the number of seats each state in the House of Representatives has. States also use the totals to redraw their legislative and school districts. The next census will occur in 2020. So this next, right now at the Census Bureau, we're currently in an education phase. So our goal right now is to encourage and to educate all local citizens about what the importance is of the census and why we do the census and how this information is used and how it impacts them locally. The Census Bureau must submit state population totals to the President of the United States by December 31st of 2020. The information will come back out locally to you by April 1st of 2021. The population totals affect our funding in our local communities, and the data collected in the census help decision makers know how your community is changing. This will impact each state and local community more than you will ever realize. There is $675 billion of federal funds that is allocated to each state every year. So the impact of getting these numbers correct could affect our communities. Moving forward as a team, and thank you so much for the partnership. You have a wonderful committee set in place here in Bristol, Tennessee. I have to say they are already ahead. I felt like I learned something just meeting with them. Your census person is wonderful. So moving forward, what we would like to do is, really get out and have local voices. You all speak to our communities and tell them, educate them that the census survey is safe and it's easy. There's going to be a lot of changes with the new census survey. The biggest impact that you'll see is that the survey is going to be online. There is an option to do a paper form and send it in by mail, and they can also call in over the phone. The impact of the paper forms, and the reason why we need to encourage them to complete it online, is that there will only be 3 data centers across the nation in order to count. So we want to ensure that all of our information is in time so the numbers are correct for your local localities. We are currently recruiting. Our first phase of hiring is going to be hiring address canvassing folks. I have put this flyer out front on the desk if anyone would like to pick one up. We need several people. So if you know of anyone that would be interested, please encourage them to apply. That is all that I have today. If anyone has any questions, I'll stick around and be glad to answer those for you. And I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I assume if anyone has any questions in our community that contact in the city offices, we can put you in touch with our committee or with Ms. Hurley to be able to answer questions directly. Sometimes answers aren't easy to find on the internet or not to your specific question, et cetera. So we thank you for being here tonight and working with us. We have one public hearing tonight, and it's Resolution 1928, a resolution adopting a community development block grant action plan and approving the submission of the action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to request CDBG grant funding and home funding in 2019-2020, and Ms. Christina Blevins, Community Development Specialist, is here to summarize for us. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mayor Fire-Robin and members of council. I am pleased to present to you our one-year draft action plan for the Community Development Block Grant and Northeast Tennessee, Virginia Home Consortium. So I thought I'd give you a very quick overview, and you guys know this, but this is for you guys out here that may not know. The Community Development Block Grant Program was created in 1974, but signed into law by President Gerald Ford in 1976. It was a result of the consolidation of 7 previous programs into just one, the Community Development Block Grant. Bristol has received over $12,760,000 in the past 43 years that we have been a Community Development Block Grant recipient. So that's pretty awesome. And we are an entitlement community, which means that we get funding directly from HUD, and we don't have to go through the state of Tennessee with THDA. Okay, there are 3 national objectives to the CDBG program: activities directly benefiting persons of low to moderate income, activities which aid in the elimination of slums and blight, and activities designated to meet community development needs having a particular urgency. These numbers that I'm showing you today are based on the 2018-19 figures that we were awarded last year. So that is what these 1920 allocation has been based on. So the proposed projects are rehabilitation, reconstruction, YWCA daycare, demolition and clearance, sidewalks, program administration. Projected program carryover, will not know a complete total until the end of the year as things change every day, but I also project that our program income through the Community Development Block Grant Program will be $20,000. The Northeast Tennessee Virginia Home Consortium, a little bit of history on that. Obviously, the National Affording Housing Act of 1990. The home program is to provide decent, affordable housing to lower-income households, expand the capacity of nonprofit housing providers, strengthen the ability of state and local governments to provide housing, and leverage private sector participation. The home program is very different than CDBG because it really primarily relates to home programs, where people live and how they live. We have received $17,559,639 in the past 16 years, so since Bristol has started the consortium in 2003. So should be really proud of that. Okay, administration of the home program is no easy task. We partner with the First Tennessee Development District out of Johnson City to administer the program. Bristol is responsible for preparing the consolidated plan, the annual action plan, the consolidated annual performance evaluation report, also known as the CAPER. We're also responsible for all input in IDIS, which is HUD's communication system with us. We process all of the home payments, we conduct the quarterly board meetings, and we hold all the public hearings. Oh, one more thing, I'm sorry. First Tennessee Development District is also responsible for administering the projects undertaken by the consortium, which are generally homeownership, rehab reconstruction, rental rehab, and our CHODO expenses. 7 communities, including us, partner together to make our home consortium. And you can see from the slide who those are. Of course, Bristol, Tennessee, Bristol, Virginia, Kingsport, Johnson City, Bluff City, Sullivan County, and Washington County. There is, the percentages beside of them is a percentage that we've used for the last several years. And people can spend their designated percentage amount in either rehab and reconstruction or in home ownership, which is basically down payment assistance to help people get into housing. Okay. Okay. So the draft plan is out, and where can people get it? Several places, actually. HUD really, this is federal funding, so HUD really wants to have this. If somebody would like to see the draft plan or speak at this public hearing, we are very interested in your comments. So the Bristol Public Library at the reference desk, Bristol Housing, Air Development Services Department has one at the front desk. They're also known as the Annex Building. Here at the Slater Community Center, and then, of course, online at bristoltennessee.org. And our public comment period will go through May 1st, so the actual last day is May 1st to comment. So I also like to recognize Vice Mayor Denise. She's our current Home Consortium Chair, so thank you for your hard work. Thank you. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right. And does anyone have any questions?
I have one.
Yes.
Can you just add how we use the funds that are recaptured?
Yes, all the recaptured funds go into eligible home or CDBG activities. So, and great question, because we have to use all of our recaptured program income money first before we can use our entitlement funds through HUD. So, it's good that we get money in, but it makes it challenging to meet our timeliness tests and other things that we have to do with HUD when you're surprised with $20,000 or so dollars.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I'll just note when the Home Consortium was formed in 2003, it was city staff from Bristol, Kingsport, Johnson City, who saw a need that we could access more funds for our region by joining together, and so they saw that need and went through the process to form the Home Consortium. And as you can see, it's brought in quite a lot more resources to our community, so we really appreciate that. I can't remember if I said the public hearing is open, but if I didn't, the public hearing is open. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this issue? If there's no one, then I'll close the public hearing. And we'll move on to the appearance of, oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll move to the appearance of citizens. And this section provides opportunity for the public to address City Council on any matter that's not on our printed agenda for formal consideration. Comments are limited to matters of city business only. We usually don't respond at the time because we're not prepared, neither the council nor the city manager, to be effective. Our process is the city manager will look into the matter and get back to city council or have staff meet with folks or figure that out. The comments are limited to 3 minutes and per individual, and they're non-transferable to other individuals. Groups are requested or suggested to have a spokesperson to be efficient. We did not have anyone sign up to address City Council tonight. Is there anyone else here who would like to address City Council? Seeing no one, we'll continue with our agenda. The next, we have appointments made to 2 boards. The first one is the Housing Board, and we consider an appointment to fill the resident board member position on the Housing. It's a 5-year term, the candidate we have is Raymond Hill. I believe he was appointed not too long ago to fulfill a term, and he is now applying for a full term. And this, a reminder, on the 5-member board, it is required to have a resident of Housing as one of those members, and Mr. Hill serves in that capacity. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of Mr. Hill?
I appreciate him already stepping up to serve, and I know he's been quite involved in the both the resident council as well as some of the other activities. So thank you. Look forward to appointing him.
I think last time we had 2 candidates, and it was a little bit difficult to choose, and the other candidate was Vernon James. And he then applied for the community development, and I believe he has been a great addition to y'all's committee. Vernon Perry, thank you. Vernon Perry, and he has been a great addition to that group. So we appreciate everybody who steps up to serve, and believe me, your contributions are very appreciated. Yes.
Keene votes for Raymond Hill. Powers votes for Raymond Hill. Young votes for Raymond Hill. Denise votes for Raymond Hill. And Fire Robin votes for Raymond Hill.
All right. Congratulations, Mr. Hill. Next, we have a Planning Commission appointment, and both of these appointments tonight are a little unique. This is to fill an unexpired term of Planning Commission, and this person must reside within our urban growth boundary, so it's not a city resident. It is somebody in our urban growth boundary, and trying to be sure that we get somebody appropriate who lives in the right place is important. So we appreciate Takai Shu stepping up, and I believe he's been qualified as living in the urban growth boundary.
Yes, that is correct.
So we appreciate that. Is anybody here want to speak in favor of Mr. Shu?
I'll speak on behalf of him. I appreciate him stepping up. He has been involved for a number of years. I know I've worked with him for more than 5 years with the Chamber Leadership Program, and he's been active in numerous nonprofits and is also part of a good corporate community supporter, Strongwell, and look forward to his involvement in Planning Commission.
And I would also add that if we have any technology issues that our people can't solve, or social media or whatever, Takai is like the bee's knees or whatever. He's excellent with all those things. So he does lots for nonprofits in our community, so that's pretty exciting to see him step up.
United Way, right?
So what?
He did a lot of work
Yeah,
with United
he's
Way.
done United Way stuff.
I was more concerned down here with Mr. King. He's afraid he's going to get a cold.
From me or you?
No,
or
from the one down here.
From you? Okay.
Couldn't pay attention, I'm sorry.
Good.
Keene votes for Takashu. Powers votes for Takashu. Young votes for Takashu. Denise votes for Takashu. And Fire Robin votes for Takashu.
So we're excited, and hopefully he'll be at our next Planning Commission meeting in a couple of weeks. So appreciate willingness to serve. Yes, sorry about that. Also, we'll just say, too, for reading all these words in the proclamation can sometimes get you tongue-tied. So they're great, but they're not always read the way we talk. So sometimes we get a little bit off pace, and we excuse us for doing that. All right, we have no ordinances on tonight's agenda, so we will move to resolutions. And the first one is Resolution 1928, and that's the one that we just heard from Christina Blevins about adopting a community development block grant action plan and approving it to be submitted. I'm not going to read all that if I don't have to, since we've said it already. And does anybody have any questions? And is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 1928 to adopt a community development block grant action plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? And we've already had a hearing, so I think if there's no discussion, we're ready to vote.
Denise?
Yes.
Fire Robin?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
All right. Next, we have Resolution 1929, a resolution awarding a bid for the water filtration plant motor control center replacement. And Mr. Soar, would you summarize this for the public?
Yes, ma'am, I'd be glad to. Normally, we would place bids on our consent agenda, but this is a significant amount of money, and even more significant, it's 100% paid for through federal grants. So, but this is a replacement of our motor control center at our Bristol water filtration plant. Our plant was built in 1980, and this is part of the original equipment. The motor control center is located in a high pump service room, and it's critical to the delivery of water to our community. As I indicated, the existing equipment has outlived its service life, its design life, and replacement parts are becoming very difficult to acquire. We did receive three bids for this project. The low bidder was Hodge Electrical Contractors, located in Piney Flats, Tennessee, and the low bid in the amount of $702,800. Our consulting engineering firm has reviewed the bid as well as the qualifications of the contractor and deemed them to be responsive. As I indicated earlier, the project will be 100% funded through a grant from the U.S. Economic Development Administration.
Thank you very much, and we discussed this at our work session. Does anybody have any other questions? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 1929 for water filtration plant motor control.
I'll second that.
Second, is there anyone who would like to discuss it further on council? If not, is there anyone here tonight who would like to discuss it? Seeing none, then we're ready to vote.
Denise?
Yes.
Fire Robin?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
So we have our consent agenda. Mr. Sora, would you please read the items on our consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor. The first item is the minutes from March 5th, 2019 City Council meeting. We have the minutes of the March 22nd, 2019 City Council called meeting. Y'all are making fun of me.
No, I have a cold, which I do.
He's about to lose his
No,
mind.
it's on both sides of us.
Here, have some more hand sanitizer.
Next, we have the minutes of the March 26, 2019 City Council work session. We have Resolution 1930 awarding a bid for the purchase of tactical ballistic vests with rifle plates. Resolution 1931 approving an interlocal cooperation agreement with the Emergency Communication District of the City of Bristol, Tennessee. Resolution 1932 awarding a bid for materials for the Cypress Street Stormwater System upgrade. And Resolution 1933 awarding a bid for the purchase of 2 one-ton pickup trucks.
Would anyone on council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? If not, do I have a motion?
A motion to accept the consent agenda?
Second.
Second. Thank you. Tara, we're ready to vote.
Denise?
Yes.
Crowell?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so next on our agenda is our Board of Education. Dr. Lilly's approaching quickly to talk with us.
So today was a big day for our high school students because we did ACT everything. Our juniors took the state-administered ACT test, which is a biggie for them, but we did not let our freshmen or sophomores off the hook. They took an ACT practice test. And our seniors took the ACT work keys test. And if you'll remember, that's the test that leads to the National Career Readiness Certificate, and that's what makes Sullivan County, or helps contribute to Sullivan County being a work-ready community. So we put them to work today, but it was good. Last week we had Industry Day, and we sent teachers from the high school out to local businesses and industries to see what goes on there, as well as to kind of have a refresher on what students need to know, the skills they need to have when they enter the workforce. So I'd like to give a shout out to those industry partners, including the city's police and fire department who allowed us to send teachers there. Also last week we had a cafeteria full of seniors and mentors for the Tennessee Promise program. And that is a great program that allows students to go to community college or the TCAT Center absolutely free of charge for 2 years. So that's a wonderful program for them. And next week we are participating in the Career Quest at the ETSU Mini Dome again. That is organized by the First Tennessee Development District, but we take students and they get to see demonstrations and learn about several different career sectors there. So we are working hard to help students stay focused on what comes after high school, and that's good for them and it's good for our community.
Thank you very much. And on the Tennessee Promise, just for folks who might know of or have students, it is critical for them to participate in all the parts. And if students are encouraged to participate, even if they have other plans. You never know what might happen, so it's good if you've done it. Then if some plan falls apart or critical family emergencies or whatever, you're ready to go to utilize it at Northeast State. So it's really important, and I'm sure it always ends up to be some folks who are disappointed that they didn't think ahead. So encourage everybody to do that. Also, I'd like to recognize folks before I recognize Mr. Sora. That we have Mayor Joel Staten back there with his wife Peg. We have Mark Hutton, Sullivan County Commission, and David Akert, Sullivan County Commission, BTES, and Parks and Recreation. I appreciate you all being here. We have several candidates. We have Steve Willinger, who came forward a few minutes ago, Vince Turner, Miles Vance, and Malin Luttrell. So really appreciate this year we have 6 candidates for 2 spots, and appreciate your interest in being here to learn more about what we do and what you might be getting into. So appreciate y'all being here. Mr. Sora.
It's been a great couple of weeks for our friends at Bristol Motor Speedway, certainly with the announcement last week and the adjustment of the 2020 fall schedule, as they'll be now in the playoff chase and one of the elimination races. And we had really the great problem of being able to adjust a date, and I think we came up with a very strong solution that will bring tourists into our area for certainly a week-long period, the opportunity to do that, and I think it's going to be a win-win for all concerned. Speaking of Bristol Motor Speedway, we got a great weekend coming up with qualifying for the Food City 500 and Food City Family Race Night on Friday evening at the track. Saturday afternoon, we'll have the Alsco 300 Xfinity Series race, followed by the Zombie Auto 150 K&N Series race. And then Sunday, the Food City 500 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Race Series. And it's exciting exciting weekend to be in Bristol. The weather looks great, and I hope everyone enjoys it. Then lastly, on Tuesday, April 23rd at 10 a.m. in the Nature Center classroom, we'll have our day-long work session that will focus on the fiscal 2020 budget.
All right. Thank you. All right. City council comments?
I'll jump in to piggyback on the good news for Bristol Motor Speedway. That race will then be September 19th, right, and through that whole weekend, and then Bristol Rhythm and Roots will be the weekend before, the 13th, 14th, and 15th of 2020. And you know, I have the privilege of sitting on the Bristol, I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied. The BMC board, BCM board, Birthplace of Country Music board. And you know, when all this came out from the Bristol Motor Speedway, it was really exciting, and we had a great conversation and are so looking forward to it. But we have to remember that those are two huge back-to-back events, and it's going to take a lot of lift from the community. It's like having the race and the huge football game all at the same time. And so we hope that people will really come out and help us from a volunteer perspective. This morning we met with Believe in Bristol, and they have many activities planned. I also serve on that board. And one of the big activities that they have planned is, of course, Border Bash, and that'll kick up here pretty soon. But the 4th of July, I believe in Bristol is taking responsibility for the 4th of July this year, and again, need lots of community volunteers. So as Bristol continues to grow and we have more and more events, it's more and more important that we're all engaged and are supportive of this through our volunteer efforts. I'd like to give a shout out to our Department of Community Relations, and they're working in partnership with Bristol, Tennessee Essential Services. When you go to the race this weekend, you should see a really cool billboard up. We're a 10 gig, and I know Vice Mayor Denise has talked about this. We're a 10 gig community, and that's so important. It's so important to where we are with economic development. It's so important to where we are in our school system. It's great for recruitment. So there'll be a big billboard there that says, if music is your gig, if high-speed internet connectivity is your gig, if racing is your gig, then Bristol is most certainly your gig. So look for the billboard. Serve on Parks and Recreation. We're real excited that a trail study has been put out there. We believe that this will be a game changer for our community. Eventually, not sure how long it'll take, but we'll get there. You'll be able to leave downtown by bike or by walking and make your way all the way down to Bristol Motor Speedway. And I have been told that you can even kayak and canoe parts of Beaver Creek. That's exciting. And just one last thing. I have had the opportunity to be here at the Slater Center Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, either at 8 or 8:30 to work out with a lovely woman. Her name is Denise, and she's trying to help get me back into shape. And this is a service that the city, you can work with the trainers here for a nominal fee. It's I had no idea. But this place is covered up at 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning. The coffee is on. There are people in the hallway. There are folks coming in to shoot billiards. I bet you didn't know there was a billiard room right behind this room. I work out with others on the stage. This place is just bustling. Yesterday afternoon, I had the opportunity to be in Kingsport at their aquatic center and their YMCA joint facility. Our grandsons are taking a survival swim class. Charles is 4.5 and Winston is 18 months in there. There's so much that we can offer to our community in the way of swimming lessons to prevent the drowning of a child, to provide the socialization for the lonely seniors, to provide health care incentives for people who could stand to lose a few pounds. And it's my hope that in the future, at some point in time, we'll be able to really take a good look at a new community center that has an aquatic facility contained in it. You know, you have to plant these seeds, and sometimes it takes a while for them to come to fruition. So tonight, I'd really like to plant the seed of a new senior center with an aquatic center as well. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to share a little, Dr. Lilly mentioned something called work keys, and that's part of where just one aspect of how education ties into the workforce, and work keys specifically helps us be able to put a measurement, quantitate certain skills and abilities that our students take, and that in turn can help both our economic development team as well as those who are looking for skilled labor to identify if those skills are present and at what level they're present in our community. So when you have, and this is a much bigger picture than just Sullivan County, but when you look across the region, I know it's a little further along on the Tennessee side currently than the Virginia side, but the workforce, many of us will drive up to 30 minutes, some even drive farther. I'm sure many of us know folks at, for instance, Ballard, who might drive as far as 45 minutes or an hour sometimes to come to work. Those folks all come into this work shed, if you want to call it that. And being able to know what we have and being able to show that really helps those who are looking at our community, whether it's expansion, which is more common than new manufacturers coming in. And I think that's just a great feature to know that our seniors who are getting ready, some to be in the workforce, whether it's to help get through college a little bit or to enter full-time and as they get their certifications and other things with the local applied technologies like TCAT. It's just a great opportunity, and being able to have that data is really useful for our state as well as our local economic developers.
Yeah, I'll pick up on that a little bit too, Jack. Yeah, very important. Work-ready community. Our certification is huge, and that's what potential employers coming into our community are looking for. I'll follow up also, and Lee mentioned, reminded me of our hiring expo that's coming up, and the date of that is, someone help us. April 25th is the hiring expo. Our I'll just tell you guys, our community relations department and Tom's department, have done just a great job at turning folks out and getting companies into jobs that are much needed. Still have, I'm sure, several thousand jobs out there that are available. We also have our festival, Small Business Festival. Help me, Tom. The May 9th through the 11th. Another good job by our staff members getting the word out and really talking to entrepreneurs about new businesses and skills that they may lack within their small businesses as well. I'll also follow up on Lee's comments about all of the events coming together in 2 weekends. We have a huge event coming up this weekend, and there are many, many people that are pulled together, several thousand people that are pulled together to pull off our race weekends. And with Rhythm and Roots happening, that's going to be huge. And, it takes, I'm going to say there's several hundred volunteers that are in the city, that work within the city of Bristol, Tennessee on all of our boards and commissions, and two that stepped up tonight and that were appointed. So we appreciate all of those volunteers. I think that's all I have, and go have a good time this race week.
I think that covered everything I was going to say.
All right. So I'll just add a couple of things. One was that the school system had an Arts Fest, Virginia Delphi Arts Fest this weekend, and that I think was created 2 or 3 years ago, and 6 years ago. Okay, it's become a bigger deal over the years with the new auditorium, et cetera. So anyway, it's awesome to be able to celebrate the arts and show off our students and give them opportunities, et cetera. So we appreciate the school system doing that. Also, the sign has been receiving a lot of attention. It's a good thing, because right about the time that our work started, everybody is starting to talk about how shabby the sign's looking. So we were just in time. We already had it planned in process, so that was great to be able to let people know things were happening with it, so it'll be exciting to see how that looks. I hope we can do the same planning with our country music mural, that before people start complaining about it too much, we'll have that underway or scheduled as well. I think this weekend, a new brewery opened in downtown Bristol, State Street Brewery on the Virginia side of town, but we celebrate any of our downtown businesses as well as our other industries, et cetera, that help our community. And real exciting, I can't believe y'all didn't mention it, was Ken Burns. So
yeah.
I get to talk about it. And I will say my maiden name is Burns, so I'd like to say I'm related to him. I didn't get a chance to personally introduce myself and say you must be a cousin, but anyway, that is certainly extraordinary for our community and very, very exciting to have that attention brought to us in the birthplace of country music. And we have to wait till September. We've gotten a little taste of what's to come. His work is definitely quality, and it's also backed with what happens with the different programs after they're shown for the increase of visitors in our Civil War parks and our national parks, et cetera. So we are so pleased, also very pleased with Keith Liskey at the Birthplace of Country Music, who made contacts early, had personal contacts, so with that helped to get good information, as well as have Bristol featured as the first stop on their tour. So we're thrilled with that that event and stuff that's yet to come. Volunteers, just ditto on everything, and hopefully people will practice being volunteers for events between now and next September, so opportunities to volunteer for things now as well as then. I want to thank before I say that, I'll say also I am just so glad, I don't know what person in public health discovered that we're supposed to cough into our elbow instead of into our hands, but that has got to be one of the smartest things, so be sure that y'all are doing that so that Chad doesn't get too nervous.
And
hand
sanitizer.
As well as we're going to go like this. And
very
hand
important.
sanitizer too. Yeah, and don't always shake hands. We can do a little bump, but the elbow cough is certainly a smart thing to do. I want to just thank my fellow council people. Last month I was enjoying some time in Louisiana. However, it was not warmer than it was here, which is what I was counting on, and it was not. But Vice Mayor Denise was kind enough to serve in the facilitator moderator role. And also, I will just let y'all know that the help tonight, everybody makes little notes of who's here so we don't leave anybody out. So there's 3 sets of notes for who's here, so we want to be sure that we don't leave anybody out. And for all of us, it means a lot to see people who come to the meetings and are here with us. We greatly appreciate that. So with that, we're adjourned till May. There we go. For this meeting.
Humans have been gathering around fires, sharing stories for centuries. It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire.